Kang Daeho pressed his hand against the cold viewport and stared at the planet below. It looked wrong. The images they had been shown back on Earth displayed green continents, blue oceans, and white clouds. This world showed nothing but gray rocks, brown dust, and angry red storms swirling across its surface. His wife, Park-a-Boo, stood beside him with her hand covering her mouth. "That cannot be our new home," she whispered. "It looks dead." Around them in the observation deck, other colonists gathered. 50,000 people had left Earth 6 months ago on the colony ship Dawn's Promise. They had sold everything they owned. They had said goodbye to families and friends forever. The Galactic Coalition had promised them a paradise world, already prepared and waiting. This was not that world. Captain Han Tae-young entered the deck with heavy steps. His face looked 10 years older than it had this morning. Behind him walked 3 alien creatures. They stood on 4 legs with bodies covered in shimmering blue scales. Their heads held too many eyes, and when they spoke, the translator boxes on their chests produced flat, emotionless voices. "Attention, human colonists," the lead alien said. "This is your assigned settlement world. Designation, Refuge 7. You will begin landing procedures immediately." A man in the crowd shouted, "This is not what we were promised. Where is the terraformed world? Where are the prepared habitats?" The alien's multiple eyes blinked in sequence. The previous world assignment was reallocated to the Kethran species. They have greater seniority in the coalition. Your species accepted the lowest priority settlement tier. This is what lowest priority receives. Captain Han stepped forward, his military training showing in his straight back and controlled voice. "We cannot survive on that planet. Our scans showed deadly radiation levels, no breathable atmosphere, and surface temperatures that swing from boiling to freezing. You are sentencing us to death. You have equipment and supplies for basic colony establishment," the alien replied. "Your survival or failure is not coalition concern. Our contract with Earth is fulfilled. We delivered you to an assigned world. What happens next is human responsibility." Daeho felt his blood turn to ice. They had been tricked. No, worse than tricked. They had been thrown away like garbage. The coalition never intended for them to succeed. This was how the powerful species got rid of problems. They sent unwanted populations to die on worthless worlds. Yoon Sang-ho, the ship's astrophysicist, pushed through the crowd. He held a data tablet that glowed with numbers and charts. "This planet is geologically unstable. The magnetic field fluctuates wildly. No coalition species could establish standard technology here. That is why they abandoned it. They are using us as test subjects to see if humans can survive where their precious technology fails." The aliens said nothing. They simply turned and walked back toward their shuttle. Captain Han grabbed the lead alien's scaled shoulder. "You cannot just leave us here." The alien shook free with surprising strength. "We can. We have. Your communications to Earth have been rerouted through coalition channels. They will be delayed by approximately 3 years. By then, you will either be established or deceased. In either case, the matter will be resolved. Good luck, humans." The aliens departed. Their shuttle undocked from Dawn's Promise and shot away into space, leaving the colony ship alone in orbit around the hostile world below. The observation deck erupted into chaos. People shouted, cried, and argued. Some demanded they use the ship's remaining fuel to return to Earth. Others insisted they try to reach another coalition world for help. A few simply collapsed into seats and stared at nothing. Captain Han raised his voice. "Silence. Everyone be quiet." The crowd slowly settled. "I know this is not what we expected. I know you are scared and angry. I am too. But panic will kill us faster than that planet. We need to think clearly. Choi Min-ah, the young medical officer, spoke up. Her voice shook but stayed steady. Captain, we have maybe 6 months of supplies on the ship. If we try to return to Earth, we will die in space. The fuel is not enough. If we try to reach another coalition world, we will die in space. They will not help us anyway. Kim Jae-sung, a former politician from Seoul, pointed at the viewscreen. So, you were saying we should go down there and die slowly instead of quickly? There has to be another option. Dae-ho surprised himself by speaking. He was just an engineer, not a leader. But someone needed to say what everyone was thinking. The only option is survival. We go down to that planet and we make it work. That is insane. Jae-sung shouted. Look at it. Nothing can live there. Nothing alien can live there, Dae-ho corrected. Their technology fails in unstable magnetic fields. But human technology is different. We built our first cities without any alien help. We survived ice ages and droughts and wars. We are adaptable. That is what makes humans different from them. Ji-woo squeezed his hand. She understood what he was saying. The aliens had made a mistake. They assumed humans were like them, dependent on advanced technology and perfect conditions. They forgot that humans had clawed their way up from caves and stone tools. Captain Han looked at Dae-ho for a long moment, then nodded. He is right. We were cast out because they think we are weak. Let us prove them wrong. We will take this dead world and make it live. It will be hard. Many of us may die. But if we work together, if we use every bit of knowledge and strength we have, we can build something here. Not because they allow it, but because we demand it. The room stayed quiet. Then someone started clapping. Others joined. Not everyone agreed. Dae-ho could see that in some faces. But most understood. They had no choice but to try. As the meeting broke up and people moved to prepare for landing, Dae-ho looked out at the gray planet one more time. They had named their ship Dawn's Promise. Perhaps the dawn would come to this world too. Perhaps from the ruins they were about to face, something new would begin. 6 months had passed since the landing, and New Haven looked like a collection of metal boxes buried in dirt. Dae-ho stood in the engineering bay, which was really just a section of the crashed Dawn's Promise that they had partially buried for radiation protection. His hands were covered in grease, and his eyes burned from lack of sleep. But the water filtration system finally worked. Got it, he shouted. Clean water began flowing through the pipes for the first time in a week. The previous filter had cracked during a radiation storm. Lee Hyun-soo, the mechanic who had become his closest friend, clapped him on the shoulder hard enough to leave a mark. About time, Hyun-soo said with a tired grin. I was getting tired of recycled sweat water. They had learned so much in 6 months. Learned that the radiation came in waves tied to the planet's unstable magnetic field. Learned that digging underground was their best protection. Learned that every piece of coalition technology they had brought failed within weeks, burned out by magnetic interference. Learned that old human methods, things the aliens had called primitive, actually worked better here. The settlement sprawled inside and around a massive crater they had found 3 kilometers from the landing site. The crater walls provided natural protection from wind and some radiation. They had buried habitats deep into the crater floor and sides. From above, New Haven looked like a scar on the planet's surface. From inside, it looked like home, or at least the beginning of one. Dae-ho walked through the tunnels toward the agricultural section. The walls here were rough rock reinforced with metal beams salvaged from the ship. Lights ran along the ceiling, powered by the ship's reactor which they had managed to transplant underground. Every resource was precious. Every bit of technology had to serve multiple purposes. He found Ji-woo in the growing chamber, staring at rows of brown, dead plants. She had been trying to grow crops for months with no success. The soil was poisoned with heavy metals and strange chemicals. The radiation killed seeds before they could sprout. Coalition growing techniques required perfect conditions that did not exist here. Any luck? Daeho asked, though he could see the answer. Ji-woo shook her head. Tears made tracks through the dirt on her face. I have tried everything. Every method I know. The plants just die. We are going to run out of food in 4 months, Daeho. What am I doing wrong? He put his arm around her shoulders. You are not doing anything wrong. The coalition methods do not work here. Maybe we need to stop thinking like them and start thinking like humans from 100 years ago. What do you mean? Before we joined the coalition, how did humans grow food in contaminated soil? After nuclear accidents? After chemical spills? Ji-woo's eyes widened. Phytoremediation. Using certain plants to clean the soil first. And hydroponics for areas too damaged. And she grabbed his face and kissed him hard. You are a genius. Why did I not think of that? Because the aliens told us their way was better. We forgot our own history. Ji-woo was already pulling up old Earth databases on her tablet, searching through pre-coalition agricultural techniques. Daeho left her to work, feeling a small spark of hope. That spark died when he reached the medical bay. Choi Min-ah looked exhausted. She had been working non-stop since landing, treating radiation sickness, injuries from accidents, and illnesses caused by stress and poor nutrition. The medical bay, like everything else, was just a buried room with equipment that barely worked. How many today? Daeho asked. 12 new cases of radiation sickness. Mild, thankfully. The lead shielding you installed in the living quarters is helping. But we lost Park Dong-min this morning. His exposure was too severe from before we understood the radiation patterns. Daeho closed his eyes. 43 people dead in 6 months. Every death felt like a personal failure. How are you holding up? Min-ah laughed, but it sounded broken. I am 26 years old. I finished medical training 2 years ago. I am supposed to be treating minor injuries and common illnesses. Instead, I am watching people die from radiation poisoning, and I cannot do anything. The alien medicine does not work on humans as well as they told us. We are alone here. We have each other. Is that enough? Before Daeho could answer, alarms blared throughout the settlement. He ran toward the command center, which was really just the old ship's bridge buried deepest in the crater. Captain Han was already there with Yoon Sang-ho, both staring at sensor screens. What is it? Daeho demanded. Sang-ho pointed at a display showing space beyond the planet. A ship, coming toward us. Big one. Coalition? Daeho felt his stomach drop. Unknown. But the design is not human. Captain Han's hand moved to where his weapon usually hung. They had very few weapons, and those were saved for hunting the small, tough creatures they had found living in deep caves. It will reach orbit in 2 hours. The next 2 hours felt like days. They gathered everyone who could be spared into the command center. Kim Jae-sung was there, still pushing his agenda to abandon the planet. He had gathered followers. People who believed going back to Earth was possible if they just tried hard enough. This could be our rescue, Jae-sung said. See? Someone came for us. Or someone came to scavenge what they think are our corpses. Captain Han replied. When the ship entered orbit, it sent a transmission. The translator program struggled with the language, but finally produced words. Human settlement. This is Thorian Collective Scout Vessel. We detected activity on this abandoned world. Requesting permission to approach. We mean no harm. Captain Han looked at Daeho, who shrugged. They had no weapons to threaten the spaceship. No leverage. They could say no, but it would not matter. Permission granted, Captain Han transmitted. "But know that we are armed, and we will defend ourselves." It was a bluff, but perhaps a necessary one. The alien shuttle landed outside the crater. 3 beings emerged, walking on 2 powerful legs with scaled skin and shades of green and brown. They looked like the ancient Earth dinosaurs Daeho had seen in museums, but they wore clothes and carried technology. Their eyes were sharp and intelligent. Captain Han met them at the crater entrance with Daeho, Sangho, and 10 others armed with whatever they could carry. The lead alien, who introduced himself as Commander Vrek, stared at them in obvious shock. "You are alive," Vrek said. "How? This planet should have killed you in weeks." "We are harder to kill than you might think," Captain Han replied. "What do you want?" "Initially, we came to salvage your technology and take useful resources from your corpses. But now," Vrek looked around at the buried settlement, at the humans working in the background, at the smoke rising from the geothermal vents they had tapped for power. "Now I am curious. How did primitive humans survive where coalition species could not?" Commander Vrek walked through New Haven with the careful steps of someone expecting traps. His 2 officers followed close behind, their scaled hands never far from their weapons. Daeho led them through the tunnels, while Captain Han explained what they had built. "We buried everything," Han said. "The radiation on the surface changes too quickly for shielding to work consistently. Underground, the rock itself provides protection. Simple, but effective." "Simple?" Vrek repeated, running a clawed hand along the rough tunnel wall. "Yes, coalition species forgot how to be simple. We rely on technology to solve every problem. When the technology fails, we have no backup plans." They reached the agricultural section, where Jiwoo had transformed the space over the past months. She had stopped trying to use coalition methods entirely. Instead, she had dug deeper into the ground, finding pockets of less contaminated soil. She grew mushrooms in the darkest areas, using them to clean toxins from dirt. In chambers she had lined with salvaged metal, she ran hydroponic systems using water Daeho's filters cleaned. The first green shoots of real vegetables were pushing up through growing medium. "Incredible," Vrek said. "You are using techniques that coalition species abandoned 10,000 years ago. Techniques we call obsolete." "Obsolete means they do not work anymore," Jiwoo said, not looking up from her plants. "These work fine. Maybe your species forgot that simple does not mean wrong." Daeho saw something change in Vrek's expression. The alien seemed almost embarrassed. They continued the tour, showing the geothermal power system, the water recycling, the lead-line living quarters, the workshop where Hyen Su had built hybrid tools that combined human and alien technology in ways that somehow functioned better than either alone. Finally, they gathered in the command center. Captain Han ordered food brought, the limited rations they could spare. Vrek ate carefully, his eyes never leaving the humans around him. "I will be honest," Vrek said at last. "The Coalition does this regularly. They find worlds that are worthless by their standards and send unwanted populations there. Species that cause problems. Groups that ask too many questions. Humans are not the first. You will not be the last." "You are saying they commit genocide," Minna said quietly. "Slow genocide. Clean genocide. They call it colonization, and if species die, well, that is natural selection. The Coalition is not what your Earth governments think it is. It is a hierarchy where the strong use the weak. Why are you telling us this?" Daeho asked. "What do you want?" Vrek was quiet for a moment. "My people, the Thorians, we were almost destroyed by Coalition policies 50 years ago. We survived by learning to trade carefully and stay quiet. We scavenge at the edges, taking what we can. When we detected human life signs here, I expected to find corpses and salvage. Instead, I find success. That interests me. Interests you how? Captain Han's hand moved toward his weapon. I propose a trade. You need supplies, raw materials, certain technologies. We need labor and unique problem solving. There is a mining operation 2 systems away. Rich deposits, but in an asteroid field with unstable conditions. Coalition technology struggles there. Your human adaptability might succeed. Kim Jae-sung, who had been silent until now, spoke up. Why should we trust you? You came here to rob our corpses. Because I am being honest about it, Rek replied. I am not pretending to be your friend. I am offering a transaction. You work for us. We pay you in goods you need. Simple, fair. Daeho looked at Captain Han, who nodded slightly. We need to discuss this privately. After Rek and his officers left the room, the argument began immediately. Jae-sung wanted to refuse, to save their resources for an attempt to return to Earth. Others feared the aliens would betray them or enslave them. Some wanted to accept just to get supplies. We negotiate, Daeho said. Not just for supplies. For knowledge. If they want our labor, they pay us in technology transfers, training, information. We make ourselves valuable enough that they need to keep us alive. And if they refuse? Ji-sung demanded. Then we survive without them, like we have been. But if they accept, we accelerate everything. We learn faster. We build stronger. Captain Han made the decision. We negotiate. Daeho, you lead the discussions. You understand how to make their technology work with ours. The negotiations took 3 days. Rek was surprised by how hard Daeho bargained. Humans were supposed to be desperate, grateful for any help. Instead, Daeho demanded detailed technology transfers, insisted on human oversight of any mining operations, required that Thorians teach humans how to repair and modify their equipment. You drive a hard bargain, Rek said finally. Why? Because you came here expecting corpses and found survivors. That means we are worth more than you thought. Pay us what we are worth or find someone else. Rek's throat made a sound that might have been laughter. I begin to understand why the coalition dumped you here. You are inconvenient. Very well. We agree to your terms. While formal agreements were drawn up, a young colonist named Bae Soo-jin spent time with the Thorian officers. She had studied linguistics on Earth and was fascinated by alien languages. The officers, bored during negotiations, taught her basic Thorian. Through them, she learned more about the coalition. They fear change, one officer told her. The hierarchy has existed for so long that challenging it seems impossible. Minor species like us, we survive by being useful without being threatening. What happens if a species becomes threatening? Soo-jin asked. The officer made a gesture she learned meant sadness. They are dealt with, quietly. The coalition has existed for 50,000 years. They have methods. Soo-jin shared this with Daeho, who felt a chill despite the warm air in the tunnels. Humans were being watched. Their success or failure here meant something larger than just their own survival. On the final day of Rek's visit, Yoon Sang-ho approached him with a question. Commander, do you know why this planet has such unstable magnetic fields? It does not match typical geological models. I do not. It is listed in coalition databases as an anomaly world, unsuitable for standard settlement. Sang-ho showed him data on his tablet. I have been studying the magnetic patterns. They are not random. They repeat on a cycle, but the cycle is very long. Decades, maybe centuries. And there is something else. Deep underground, maybe 50 or 60 kilometers down, there are massive structures. Not natural formations, artificial. Rek leaned forward, his eyes widening. You found runes? Here. I found something. Metal signatures. Regular geometric patterns. Signs of power generation. though dormant. There is an entire complex down there. Do not report this to the Coalition, Rex said urgently. If they learn there are ancient ruins here, they will take this world by force. They will not care that you have a settlement. Ruins mean potential technology, and that is worth more than human lives. But what if the ruins could help us? Deho asked. What if there is technology down there we could use? Then you are speaking about something very dangerous, Rex said. Ancient technology is always dangerous, but also valuable. If you could recover something functional, something unique, you would have leverage. Real leverage. The Thorians departed the next day with the trade agreement signed. They left supplies, technical manuals, and a communication device for future contact. As their ship lifted off, Captain Han gathered the leadership in the command center. Sang-ho, how deep can we dig? Han asked, with current equipment? Not to the ruins. We would need better drilling equipment, probably thorian mining tools. Then we work the mining contract. We get better tools and we find out what is down there. Han looked around the room, but quietly. No broadcasts. No records that could be intercepted. If those ruins hold something valuable, they might be our ticket to real independence. Deho squeezed Diwu's hand under the table. 6 months ago, they had been abandoned to die. Now they were planning to excavate alien ruins while developing trade relationships. Humans were adapting. The question was whether they could adapt fast enough. The drilling took 8 months. 8 months of backbreaking work in the Thorian asteroid mines, earning the equipment they needed. 8 months of secret preparation while New Haven grew stronger on the surface. 8 months of Sang-ho refining his scans, mapping the structures far below. Now Deho stood at the edge of a shaft that dropped into darkness. The drill had punched through 62 kilometers of rock to reach a massive cavern. Preliminary probes showed breathable atmosphere down there, warmer than the frozen surface, protected by layers of stone from the deadly radiation above. This is insane, Jiwoo said beside him. She was going down with the expedition team. Her expertise in biology might be needed if they found anything living. We are about to descend into alien ruins with no idea what we will find. That is what exploration is, Deho replied. Besides, we have Rek with us. He knows more about ancient sites than we do. The Thorian commander had insisted on joining them when he learned they were going down. He claimed it was to ensure the trade agreement's safety, but Deho suspected curiosity drove him. Rek had spent his life scavenging at the edges of the Coalition. The chance to explore genuine ancient ruins was too tempting to resist. The expedition team numbered 8. Deho and Jiwoo. Captain Han, still the best in a crisis. Mina, in case anyone got hurt. Sang-ho, to study whatever they found. Hyan-Su, because his ability to make broken technology work bordered on magical. Bae Soo-jin, who now spoke Thorian fluently and could interpret any ancient language databases they found. And Rek, with his 2 officers. They descended in a lift cage, dropping through the shaft in darkness lit only by their lights. The journey took an hour. Deho watched the rock walls slide past and tried not to think about the billions of tons of stone above them. The cavern opened suddenly. One moment they were surrounded by close walls. The next they emerged into vast space. Their lights barely reached the far walls. The floor spread below them, and on it stood structures. They were not buildings in any human sense. They were too organic, flowing in curves and spirals rather than straight lines. But they were clearly artificial, clearly built with purpose. Some rose hundreds of meters tall. Those hundreds of meters tall. And rose. Others sprawled across the cavern floor like sleeping giants. And they glowed very faintly, with internal light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Still powered, Sang-ho whispered. After how long? 10,000 years? 100,000? They descended to the cavern floor and stepped out onto smooth stone that showed no sign of age or wear. The air tasted strange but breathable. The temperature was warm, comfortable. Overhead, the cavern ceiling vanished into darkness, but Deho could see pinpoints of light up there. Not stars. Something else. Bioluminescence, Jiwoo said, pointing up. There are living things up there? A whole ecosystem has developed down here, protected from the surface. They moved toward the nearest structure. Rek's translator box worked overtime as they found symbols carved into the flowing walls. Ancient galactic standard, thousands of years old, but still readable. Knowledge repository, Sujin translated. It says this is a place of learning and memory. Inside, the structure opened into vast chambers filled with what could only be computers, though nothing like any they had seen before. Organic crystalline structures that glowed and pulsed. Holographic displays that still functioned, showing images of aliens that looked similar to current Coalition species but different in subtle ways. Sang-ho found an interface that still responded to touch. With Sujin's help, he began accessing files. What they learned over the next hours changed. Everything they thought they knew about the galaxy. The Coalition was not the first galactic civilization. Long before, another species had risen to dominance. They called themselves the Architects. They had spread across thousands of worlds, seeding species with genetic templates, guiding evolution, building an empire that lasted 1,000,000 years. But the Architects had made a mistake. They had tried to create perfect peace by genetically manipulating every species in the galaxy. They modified aggression levels, intelligence ranges, social behaviors. They built a hierarchy where every species had a designed role. Workers, soldiers, thinkers, leaders. The Coalition still uses that hierarchy, Rex said quietly. The species rankings we have now, they are based on the Architects' genetic modifications. The higher-ranked species were designed to lead. The lower-ranked were designed to follow. What happened to the Architects? Captain Han asked. Sang-ho pulled up more files. They fell. The modifications they made became unstable over time. Species began to break free of their programming. Wars erupted. The Architects tried to enforce control and failed. Their civilization collapsed 500,000 years ago. What became the Coalition rose from the ruins, keeping the hierarchy but forgetting why it existed. So the entire galactic order is based on genetic programming from a dead civilization, Minna said. That is horrifying. It gets worse, Sujin added. Or better, depending on how you look at it. The Architects kept records of every species they modified. And there is one species in this database that appears nowhere in their records. One species that evolved naturally, without any genetic modification. Let me guess, Deho said. Humans. Humans. We appeared on Earth after the Architects fell. We evolved without their interference. That is why we are different. Why we adapt so easily. Why we do not fit their hierarchy. We were never programmed with a specific role. Rek made a sound of understanding. That is why the Coalition dumped you here. Not because you are weak. Because you are unpredictable. You do not follow the patterns they expect. You are dangerous to their order. They press deeper into the repository, finding more than just historical records. The Architects had left technology blueprints, manufacturing templates, power generation designs. Fusion systems far beyond Coalition standard. Terraforming equipment that could transform worlds in years instead of centuries. Medical technology that could cure almost any disease. This is incredible, Hyan-Su said, scrolling through engineering files. With this, we could transform Refuge 7 completely. Make it a paradise. Or we could share it. Ji-woo suggested. Trade it to other species. Build alliances. Or the coalition could kill us and take it, Captain Han said grimly. Vrak was right. If they learn what is here, they will not negotiate. They will simply take. A sound echoed through the chamber. All of them froze. It came again, a mechanical clicking followed by what might have been footsteps. Something was moving in the ruins. They drew their weapons, such as they were. Light swept through the darkness, searching. The clicking grew louder, closer. Then a shape emerged from behind one of the organic computer banks. It stood on 6 legs, with a body made of the same crystalline material as the computers. Its head held multiple sensor arrays that glowed with inner light. It was not biological. It was a machine, an ancient guardian still performing its duties after 500,000 years. Sujin stepped forward, despite Captain Han trying to stop her. She held up her hands in a gesture of peace and spoke an ancient galactic standard, reading from her tablet. We mean no harm. We seek knowledge. The machine stopped. Its sensors focused on her. Then, impossibly, it responded. Its voice came from everywhere and nowhere, speaking directly into their minds. Knowledge seekers. Unmodified species detected. Genetic scan indicates natural evolution pathway. No architect modification. Markers found. Fascinating. You are the first unmodified sapient species to access this repository in 500,000 years. Can you help us? Daeho asked. We need this technology to survive. Survival. Yes, the primary directive. The architects failed because they forgot that all species, modified or not, have the same primary need: to survive and grow. Their modifications created stagnation. Perhaps natural evolution creates adaptation. Perhaps you will succeed where we failed. We? Captain Han asked. Are you an architect? I am a memory of an architect, preserved in crystalline matrix. The last of my kind. I have waited here, maintaining this repository, hoping that someday a species would come that could use this knowledge wisely. You may have access to all data contained here. The machine, the architect's memory, gave them full access to the repository. Files downloaded to their portable storage devices. More information than they could process in years. Manufacturing templates. Scientific discoveries. Historical records. Everything the architects had learned in 1,000,000 years of civilization. But as they prepared to leave, alarms blared. Sang-ho checked his communication device and went pale. The surface station is detecting coalition ships entering the system. Multiple vessels. Military configuration. How did they know? Rek demanded. The answer came from an unexpected source. Kim Jae-sung's voice crackled over the communication channel. Captain Han, this is Jae-sung at the surface. I need to confess something. 2 weeks ago, I sent a message to a passing coalition scout ship. I told them we found valuable resources here. I thought they would come negotiate, that we could trade for passage back to Earth. I am sorry. I did not know they would bring warships. Captain Han's face went red with fury, but Daeho grabbed his arm. Anger later. Survival now. How long until they arrive? 96 hours, Sang-ho said. Can we hide this place? Ji-woo asked. The architect's memory answered. I can seal the cavern. 96 hours. Daeho had never worked so hard in his life. None of them had. They hauled architect manufacturing templates up from the cavern and fed them into modified fabrication systems. The machines hummed constantly, producing components that humans and Thorians assembled with shaking hands and determination. The orbital defense grid went up first. Not weapons, exactly. Daeho refused to build weapons that could be used to attack. Instead, they built shields. Energy barriers based on architect designs that could deflect incoming fire. They positioned 6 generators in orbit around Refuge 7. Powered by fusion cores, there were small suns captured in magnetic bottles. If they want to attack us, they will have to work for it, Deho said, watching the last generator drift into position. We make invasion costly enough that they would rather negotiate. Ji-Woo led the terraforming efforts. Architect atmospheric processors, built from templates and human improvisation, began converting the toxic air. The change would take months to complete, but already the red storms above New Haven were starting to fade. The radiation levels were dropping. Within a year, humans would be able to walk on the surface without suits. Hyun-Soo took architect ship designs and combined them with Thorian manufacturing techniques and human adaptability. He built vessels that were fast, efficient, and strange. They looked like no coalition ship anyone had seen before. Vrek helped crew them with Thorian volunteers who had decided they were tired of scavenging at the edges. I used architect medical technology to finally cure the radiation sickness that still plagued some colonists. More than that, she found treatments for genetic damage that made humans stronger, more resistant to disease, longer lived. She was careful, remembering what the architects had done. She enhanced, but she did not modify the core of what made humans human. Captain Han, now formally Governor Han of New Haven, spent the time sending messages, not to the coalition, but around it, to minor species that had been pushed to the edges, to worlds that chafed under the hierarchy, to anyone who might be willing to stand with humans against the established order. We cannot win this alone, Han told the leadership group. But we do not have to be alone. Sang-Ho worked with the architect's memory, learning everything he could about ancient technology and the coalition's weaknesses. He discovered that most coalition species had become dependent on standardized systems. Their military, their economy, their entire civilization ran on technology that assumed perfect conditions and central control. Disrupt those conditions, break that control, and the whole system became fragile. Bei Soo-jin became the voice of New Haven. She recorded messages in 40 different languages, explaining what humans had found and what they were building. Not a threat to the galaxy, but an alternative. A place where species could thrive without hierarchy, where cooperation mattered more than rank. The messages spread faster than anyone expected. Minor species began responding. Some offered support. Others asked questions. A few sent small gifts of supplies or technology. The coalition's control was not as absolute as they pretended, and Kim Jae-sung, the man who had betrayed them, worked harder than anyone. He could not undo his mistake, but he could help fix it. He coordinated logistics, managed resources, kept track of 1,000 details that others were too busy to handle. He did not ask for forgiveness. He just worked. 96 hours became 72, then 48, then 24. Then the coalition fleet arrived. 12 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. They were massive, bristling with weapons, painted with the symbols of the coalition's military authority. At their head came a vessel carrying the Vrillax hive speakers, the same aliens who had abandoned the colonists here 18 months ago. The transmission came immediately. Human settlement designated New Haven. This system is now under coalition military authority. You will surrender all technology recovered from ancient sites. You will submit to coalition administration. You have 1 hour to comply. Governor Han stood in the command center, surrounded by his people. Daeho was there, and all the others who had fought to survive. Vrek stood with them, having chosen his side. The architect's memory watched through cameras, curious to see what unmodified humans would do when threatened. Open a channel, Han ordered. System-wide. I want everyone to hear this. The channel opened. Han's face appeared on displays across the system. transmitted to the Coalition fleet and to every listening station for light years around. I am Governor Han Tae-young of New Haven. 18 months ago, you sent 50,000 humans to this world to die. You told us it was colonization. You lied. You dumped us here expecting we would perish, clearing a problem for you with clean hands. You were wrong. On the displays, the Coalition ships began moving forward, trying to intimidate. Han continued. We did not die. We survived. We adapted. We built something here, not with your permission, but despite your opposition. We discovered the truth about this galaxy, about the architects, about the genetic modifications that make your hierarchy possible. And we learned that humans were never modified. We are natural, unpredictable, dangerous to your order. The Coalition fleet accelerated, weapons charging. You want the architect technology we found. You think it is yours by right of power. But power is not right. We are not giving you this technology. We are sharing it. Right now, as I speak, the complete database of architect knowledge is being transmitted to every minor species in the Coalition. To the 37 species that have contacted us in support. To anyone with a receiver to pick up the signal. The transmission went out. Petabytes of data, flooding through space at the speed of light. Manufacturing templates, power generation, medical technology, everything the architects had learned. No species would have a monopoly on it now. The knowledge belonged to everyone. You can destroy us, Han said. You probably will. Your ships outgun us dramatically. But destroying us changes nothing now. The knowledge is out there. The species you have suppressed for so long now have the tools to stand equal with you. Your hierarchy is broken. The Coalition fleet stopped advancing. Daeho could imagine the chaos on those ships as commanders tried to figure out what to do. Their mission had been simple. Now it was impossible. They could kill New Haven, but the damage was done. Or, Han continued, you can negotiate. You can recognize New Haven as an independent world. You can allow us to trade freely with whoever we choose. You can accept that the old order is changing whether you like it or not. Your choice. You have 1 hour to decide. The hour passed in tense silence. The orbital shields hummed, ready to activate. The strange new ships Yansu had built waited in standby, prepared to defend. The colonists gathered in the tunnels, holding each other, praying to whatever gods they believed in. The response came not from the fleet, but from Coalition space. Dozens of minor species transmitted declarations of support for New Haven. Some announced they were leaving the Coalition entirely. Others demanded renegotiation of their status. The carefully maintained hierarchy was fracturing. The Vrillax Hive speakers transmitted again. Their voice sounded different, less arrogant, almost uncertain. New Haven, your actions constitute an act of war against the Coalition. No, Han replied. Our actions constitute an act of survival. We did not start this war. You did when you sent us here to die. We are simply refusing to die quietly. Another long pause. Then, the Coalition Council requires time to discuss this situation. The fleet will withdraw to a holding position. Negotiations will begin within 1 standard week. The warships pulled back but did not leave the system. A standoff, not a victory, but not a defeat either. That night, New Haven celebrated. Not because they had won, but because they had survived one more day. One more challenge overcome. In the command center, Daeho held Ji-woo close and looked at the displays showing their transformed world. The storms had cleared. The sky above was no longer red but pink, turning blue as the atmosphere healed. Do you think they will attack eventually? Ji-woo asked. Maybe, probably, but we bought time. Time to build more. Time to make more allies. Time to become strong enough, that attacking us costs more than it is worth. 5 years later, New Haven had grown beyond anyone's predictions. The population had swelled to 200,000 as other humans came from Earth and as aliens from minor species immigrated seeking a world where hierarchy did not determine destiny. The surface was green now, with forests and lakes. Cities rose in the crater and beyond, mixing human and alien architecture in new and beautiful ways. The Coalition had not attacked. They had negotiated reluctantly and recognized New Haven as an independent power. Not a member of the Coalition, but not an enemy either. A new category entirely. Other worlds had followed their example. The galaxy was changing, slowly but inevitably. Daeho and Jiwoo stood on a cliff overlooking the main settlement. Their daughter, Kang Hae-yoon, played nearby with friends, both human and alien children learning together. She had been born on New Haven, the first generation to grow up free of Coalition prejudice. The Vrillax sent another trade proposal, Jiwoo said. They want to negotiate for architect medical technology. Let them negotiate. They will pay fair price or get nothing. Daeho smiled. Remember when we first landed?